Good evening and welcome to season 5, episode 1 of Pretty Petty Politics. I'm going to give y'all a few seconds to jump in here. I know it has been a while since we have been together. Make sure that you invite others to join us here on Pretty Petty Politics tonight. We are talking about the Texas legislation, particularly as it concerns constitutional carry. Tonight, we have a special guest, and that guest will be talking to us. Hold on, I'm trying to share it on my own page. But that guest will be talking to us about the new law and how it will affect us. And so it's really important that you take the time to listen and understand why constitutional carry has been passed, and then understand why you still should opt in and get your license to carry. If you are not in Texas, that is absolutely okay. But make sure that if you have family members in Texas, that you are encouraging them to watch this. So if you come across this later on, you can still share it. All right, we're going to go ahead and get started with our guest tonight. We are joined by Mr. Eric Prince of Total Precision Shooting. So let's welcome Eric to the screen. Hey, Eric, how are you?
How you doing, ma'am? Good to be here.
I am good. I'm good. Good to see you. Eric is, let me get this right. He is a certified firearms instructor with multiple disciplines. I call him an expert, but he's a brother who really knows his stuff, not just around different types of guns or how to use guns or how to maintenance and clean guns, how to get licensed, but also regarding the laws concerning carrying guns, particularly here in the state of Texas. So, Eric, welcome to the show. Let's get right into it. So, what is going on with this new law Texas has presented?
Well, as of in the morning, September 1st, Texas is going under. A lot of people have called it constitutional carry, but the letter of the law reads permitless carry now, which means you don't need a permit anymore. So, it's very important that your listeners and your families and friends understand that under this constitutional carry or the permitless carry, there are a lot of pitfalls that if you're not familiar with the law itself, you're setting yourself up for failure. Because I know everyone's going to run out and say, hey, we can carry guns now. But we have to remember, license to carry, before it was concealed carry, then it became LTC, license to carry. This has been on the book for over 20 years. There's laws. They're not just going to throw these laws away. And, you're responsible for knowing these laws once you carry that firearm.
Yeah. So let's talk about some of these laws. Let's talk about what's the benefit of for someone who doesn't have a permit. What's the benefit of this law for them?
The major benefit for someone that does not have a permit will be they're able to carry a firearm without a background check. They're able to get a firearm. They're able to carry a firearm for their, I don't like to say protection, but for their peace of mind, I will say. But they still need to know the places, the restricted areas they can't take a firearm to, because, if you really break down the law and melt it down, you're really going to see the only place you really can carry a firearm without permitless is probably going to be your car, on your own property, and maybe even going down the street, because a lot of businesses are going to put up which is called the Ghostbuster sign. It's just a sign with the gun in it. And that means if you don't have a license, you can't carry on their premises.
If you don't have a license, you cannot carry on that premises.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. So what type of consequences would somebody encounter if they're carrying, under this new law, they're carrying permitless without a license to carry? What are the consequences if they walk into a place and they're not familiar with the signage and they didn't see it, they're not trained to look at it? What consequences would they face if caught?
Well, the consequences, the way it's written, it's going to be the interpretation of the district attorney. The district attorney, if they feel like it was malice, then they may charge you a Class A or Class B misdemeanor, or I don't know. You may be carrying, it's something on you that's prohibited, and now that trumps to a felony charge.
A felony charge.
Yes, ma'am.
So that opens up a whole nother situation for you. All right. So let's say I go out to Prospect Park here in Houston. Um, I I do carry, right? What'll happen if I take it in there? If I have a license, and what'll happen if I don't have a license, or is there a difference?
There won't be a difference. You'd have to know the signage at Prospect Park. If they had a 30.06 sign, we call it a 30-06 sign, which means no guns at all. So if you're licensed to carry, been familiar, you should know that sign says no guns at all. But
Mm-hmm.
if you're not constitutional, if you are constitutional carry, you won't know what that sign means because you didn't take the course. So you'll carry a gun beyond that point. So now you carry a gun beyond that point. If there's something escalate or say, God forbid, you have to use that firearm. Now, even if you're defending yourself, you've broken the law because you shouldn't have that firearm in the first place. Because at
You
that
shouldn't
point,
have.
you shouldn't have.
Okay.
Because at that point, they
Because of
can
the
charge you.
3006.
Yes, ma'am. At that point, they can charge you with premeditated murder.
Oh, wow. So 3006 sign, that is very important for us to be familiar with, right? What about if I've been drinking?
Okay,
I had a drink earlier and I get pulled over and they ask me, have you had a drink? Give me a scenario like that.
okay. Now that before tomorrow, I should say, the law stated that there was no tolerance for alcohol in your system if you carried a firearm, licensed to carry a firearm, which means if you got pulled over and you took a breathalyzer test, you blew 0.00.1, which and you had a firearm on your possession, in your holster or ladies in a purse, then you could be charged with unlawful carry. But here's a carve out to this law: the Senate, and the House went back and forth. So the House gave some, and the Senate gave some. So the Senate said, well, if you're going to use constitutional carry, we're going to ensure that the licensed carry people have a little bit more leeway. And one of those leeways is, and it's funny to me, but it is the truth, that if a licensed carry holder gets pulled over and they have an influence of alcohol or something, that won't be charged. There's no defensive. Well, there is a defensive prosecution, I should say, because you're licensed to carry. But if you're not licensed to carry and you have an alcohol in your system or something like that, there is no defense to prosecution. So that's one of the benefits of getting your license to carry.
Oh, wow. Can you say that again? Because there's a lot of people that like to have a little drink.
And yes, ma'am. Basically, if you have a license to carry,
In Houston streets, you can't be out here not strapped.
yeah, basically, if you're licensed to carry, you can have alcohol in your system now. If you're licensed to carry, but
You
if
got
you're
alcohol in your system.
yes, ma'am. But if you're not licensed to carry, you can't have alcohol in your system in the public with that firearm on you.
With that firearm on you. Okay. What are some other like oops that are available that protect those who are licensed to carry that won't be protections or won't be available to those who are just permitless or constitutionally carrying?
Well, like we said earlier, the 30-06 sign. If you are a licensed carry holder and you go past the sign or you don't notice the sign, they're under the letter of law, they're allowing you to go back to your vehicle and put your firearm up. You won't break the law. But if you do not have a license to carry and you don't know the notice of those signs or pay notice of those signs, you will break the law. If they catch you or they call the police or someone see a firearm on you, they can call the police at the time. At that time you're trespassing with a firearm.
Okay, you trespassing with a firearm. So a place like that, the airport, that's federal. It's federally protected. I'm at Bush. I'm getting ready to go on vacation. I have a oops. I have my weapon on me. I have my handgun on me, and I'm not licensed to carry. Will they let me go put it back in my car or call somebody to come get it?
Well, at that point, let's start with the license holder. It's written in a clause again. If you're at an airport, like it says secure area, if you go to TSA with that firearm on you and you're a licensed carry, the law states you will get a oops. You will be allowed to go back to your vehicle and secure that firearm. If you're unlicensed to carry, there won't be a oops. There's a possibility. No, ma'am, there's a possibility that you will be charged.
That's tough there. you know? So, but a lot of people are like afraid of of having a handgun. What are the benefits of having a handgun and taking a class to become licensed? What are the benefits and why should they do that?
I think that a handgun is like any tool. I say this from a perspective of just the individual. It's sad to say in this day and age we all need some type of protection. With the pandemic going on and people mentality, you know, um, I wouldn't ever say that having a handgun is something that you don't need. I would say something you actually need this day and age. And being trained with the firearm is the most important because people think that you can pick up a firearm and just shoot. Television and video games, it makes everyone a crack shot. But when you actually go to the gun range and hear the gun itself going off and we move the target back to 15 yards, which don't seem like a lot to people, but once you actually behind that firearm and you see how far 15 yards is, you bring the target in and you're like, wow, did I hit it? Yeah, you hit all over it, but you got close enough to it. It's like the target doing the Matrix or something. But it builds confidence in. And so I ask everyone, whether or not you get paperless carry or you want to carry under the license to carry, get some form of training, please. Because like I tell my students all the time, when you fire that weapon, every bullet that you shoot is a lawyer attached behind it. So you have to be mindful of that.
Is a what behind it?
A lawyer.
A lawyer. Y'all heard that? Yeah, because potentially you're gonna face some criminal charges.
Or even if you have a clean
Or
shooting,
civil.
that's exactly what's going to happen. Because what's going to happen now, for your audience, it's very important that they look into stuff like U.S. Law Shield. Because if you're going to carry a firearm, you need to have a legal defense behind you. Because even if it's a clean shooting, God forbid it's a clean shooting, people are going to come at you anyway for civil. So with Law Shield, they actually protect you criminal as well as civil, because you're going to fight, even if it's a lawsuit that's they're not going to win. You're still going to hire a lawyer to fight it. You're still going to have time away from work. You still going to have to fight it. So it's very important we understand that. So if you're going to carry, either way, that's something that we all need to look into. And I highly advise it, because you never know when you need protection. Like insurance, you never know when you're going to need it.
So tell us a little bit, maybe about a minute. Let's talk about what Law Shield is and how that works for those who are licensed and those who have subscribed to that service. What is Law Shield?
Law Shield is a service provided. It covers a range of a multitude of different laws to help individuals, for firearm owners, people that hunt, things of this nature. It also covers your children. Like school districts, your child may get into an altercation or something like that. Law Shield will step in and take care of you. It covers all 50 states, whether or not your gun license is valid or not, but it still covers all 50 states. They provide 24-hour coverage. You don't talk to a paralegalist. You will actually talk to the lawyer. The lawyers, they will deal with your case one-on-one. They will talk to you and let you know anything you need. And you have different levels that you're going to choose for. They have a program called Expert Witness, where they will send an expert witness in to testify on your behalf, and things of this nature. So it's just to add a layer of confidence, I will say. It's a great tool to have in the toolbox.
Okay, great tool to have in the toolbox. So, person decides, hey, now that this law is established, I'm going to go out and I'm going to buy a gun. What does that look like tomorrow versus today if they say, I'm going to go and buy a handgun today? What's the difference between the two versus them going tomorrow without being licensed? Just they're going to get a handgun and they're going to start carrying it.
Well, I would tell everyone, before you go out and buy a handgun or anything you want to, please get with someone, because, people in our community, we buy guns by names. If someone's very popular, so we buy. Everybody hand can't fit a Glock. Ergonomically, it's just different. It don't fit. You have some ladies that carry small purses, some ladies carry big purses, but this is all the names we know. We're talking about Glocks, but they may not fit you. You might not understand that you can't shoot a striker fire gun that well. You probably need a firearm with a hammer. And some things, some people hand strength's not equal. But the major difference between today and tomorrow, and again, one of the benefits, I keep telling people the benefits with your license carry. If you went out and bought a firearm a year and you're doing constitutional carry, you'll have to fill out a 4473, which is a federal background check. And they'll do a federal background check on you, say, proceed, delay, or deny. One of those three gonna come back. If they say proceed, then you leave with the firearm. If they say delay, of course you gotta wait 7 days for firearm to be released to you, and deny is just deny. One of the benefits of your license to carry, they wrote this out. It's always been this way, but they wrote it out in the bill boldly. If you have an LTC, a license to carry in the state of Texas, you no longer have to do a federal background check. You'll go to a FFL dealer. If you want to buy a firearm for myself, all I would take is your license to carry, write the number down, put it on the back of the application, verify that license is still valid, and you can leave with your gun that day.
You can leave that day.
That day it takes literally approximately maybe 3 minutes, as long as it takes me to type the number into the state of Texas, and that's it. That's federal law.
Because I'm licensed, like I'm good.
Because
right?
you've already had a background, you've already had a federal background check. Your fingerprints are already in the federal database. Your name, everything where you work at, everything you put in.
Your background is done.
It's done. They know who you are.
Know who you are. Okay, let's shift a little bit. Let's talk about some more of the benefits to having the license versus just going out being a permitless carrying person. What are some more of the benefits? I know the class, you're going to learn the signage. And I'll say this as someone who's taken the class. It puts you on notice. Like, you become much more cognizant, much more aware of how you carry yourself, where you're going. It changes the dynamics of who you are once you get licensed. And I think it's because you've gained so much knowledge, right? Yes. So what are some more of the benefits with this new law to having that license to carry?
Okay, yeah. One of the major benefits I tell people about a license to carry is if you carry permitless or constitution, you lose your right of reciprocity. But reciprocity is an agreement between certain governors of certain states where their license recognized versus recognized here in Texas. Well, your license to carry in the state of Texas license is recognized in 37 states. So you'll be able to go to at least 37 states that recognize your license in the state of Texas, and you'll be able to carry in their state. Well, without a license to carry, you're going to lose that. You cross the state line, you run the risk of transporting a firearm across state lines and things of this nature. That's and then you need to know how you carry the firearm, because in the state of Texas, you can carry a firearm a certain way. You go to Louisiana, it may be the gun has to be broken down. You see, so you'd have to know those laws as you travel. But if you're licensed to carry and you look up the website where you're going, what state you're going through, like if you're going to drive from Texas to Florida, from Texas, Louisiana, Georgia, all the way down to Florida, your license is good. So you don't have to worry about it. You carry the firearm in the way it means you need to carry it.
Okay. All right. And that's important. Hopefully I don't have to make that drive to Florida, but I'd rather fly. So let's talk about flying with a gun. What are the things that people need to do to travel by plane with their handgun?
First thing you want to make sure is whatever state you're going into will allow you to have a firearm, because once you get to checking your bags, that's no longer a secured area of the airport. So now you run the risk of doing that. So what you want to make sure is that if you're going to travel to let's say Florida again, and you want to fly to Florida, you will contact your local airport and find out the requirements for as locking up a firearm. Most of the time they'll tell you they want to see the firearm when you come to check your luggage, not underneath. Not a carry-on. Check your luggage. They have a lockable case. You'll put your firearm in the case. You have your ammunition separate. You'll lock the case. They'll want to see the lock and the key in your hand. As long as you have the lock and key in, they'll put it in. They'll do the clarification. You'll clear the firearm. They'll send it through the luggage. And when you get back on the other end, you'll have your slip. You'll get your firearm. And that's it's really simple. But again,
is your case in your luggage when you check it?
Yes, ma'am.
And you said something. You said with what is separate?
Your ammunition. You don't want to have a gun. You don't want to have a loaded gun.
Right. So does that mean you should take the magazine out?
Yes, I would take the magazine out and have the bullet separate. Yes, ma'am.
You proud of me for saying magazine and not
I was
clip.
waiting for you to say clip.
The
Outstanding.
magazine. I'm using my language. I'm skilled at this. It's been look, I've remembered it's been well over a year now, and I still remember what I learned. All right. So how can people gain more of this information, learning about these laws and how they can become a licensed handgun um, carrier?
Well, there's two ways. Actually, it's three ways. One, you can take it upon yourself and you can go through the legislation yourself. You can look up the gun law bill and you can try to familiarize yourself with those laws. Again, I'm not an attorney, and those laws are written by attorneys, so you still gonna need an interpretation of those. I'm just versed in the laws because I have to deal with Law Shield. I have to deal with the state of Texas. We have to go through different trainings and in services to ensure that we can facilitate the classes properly. You can contact us. You can take a license to carry course, which is probably the best way to go, or you can just take a small course. I have a small course to just go over the paperless carry side of it. That's not required. No gun. It's not required to go to the gun range or anything like that. That's just to familiarize yourself with the laws. But again, you're talking 2 hours versus 4.5 hours. So it's not really going to be. It's really going to be hit and miss. Because I can't sit and answer every question because you're going to ask me questions that are supposed to be answered in an actual LTC class.
LTC class. Okay. All right. And let's talk about your company. Let's talk about Total Precision Shooting. How can someone learn more about Total Precision Shooting? Sign up for your classes. When do you have them? That kind of stuff.
Sure. You can go onto the webpage, Total Precision Shooting webpage. That's scrolling at the bottom, or you can contact me at our personal number. Will be given up here. It'll be 832-567-3142. We have classes on weekends. We have classes in the Houston area, Dallas area. Throughout Texas, we pretty much teach. The classes are normally driven on Saturdays because of people's work schedule. We make it very fun, energetic. There's two instructors. We have shooting courses that we can work with you on if you're a guy or a young lady that really just want to shoot better. We have one-on-ones. We get one-on-ones where you deal with myself. My shooting coach outside of Dallas. We have a lot of females that take the class. We have a female instructor. She's very, very. She's not into military, I should say. Her background is medical. But she's a very good instructor. We really have fun. We really make the class really entertaining. The reason why we make it entertaining because if you remember your days in college and you remember your days in school, the class you remember the most was one that you felt like you got more out of it. And we want to answer. We want to answer every question. There's no such thing as a dumb question because I use this saying all the time, "Mom and them." Because when you ask people the laws, where do you hear that from? I don't know. Mom and them told you that, huh?
Right.
And it's so funny because in our community, we have a lot of laws that were never laws. It's just something someone made up. It sounds good,
It sounds good. And it's been passed along.
Yeah.
Good. So if someone wants, I'm going to take that down. If someone wants not a handgun, they want a rifle, some of these fancy rifles. Can they get that?
Yes.
Do they need a license for that? How does that work?
Well, in the state of Texas, all you have to be is 18-year-old to possess a rifle. So the AR
18-year-old to possess a rifle. And how do you have to be to have a license to carry?
21. Because that's considered a handgun. Mm-hmm. But then they changed the law also in Texas now that any military personnel in the state of Texas can get a firearm at 18.
Any military personnel in Texas at age 18 can get a firearm.
Yep. Okay. LTC license.
Oh, they can get an LTC as long as they are military.
Yes.
Active military. Okay. So that means they have to take the course and learn the laws?
Yes, ma'am. That's one of the laws. They don't have to go to the gun range because their job is shooting.
Their job is shooting. Okay.
Just like police department, their job is shooting.
Okay. Are there any, as we get ready to wrap up, are there any best practices or tips that you really want people to understand as this law gets ready to go into effect in just a few hours? Is there anything that we may have missed that they really need to know or take into consideration?
Yes, I want everyone to know, even if they choose not to get a license to carry, go to the course, because there's a section in the course where we talk about safe handling and storage of a firearm. Let's make sure we understand that if we're going to buy firearms, we're going to carry firearms, we are responsible for those firearms. And when we say responsible, I'm talking about let's make sure the young ones are taken care of, because the letter of the law is that if someone under 17 gets access to their firearm and hurt themselves, they're going to charge you with it. So you need to be very mindful. If you're going to buy guns, make sure the guns are put away in a safe area. A shoebox in the closet is not going to do it. You need to make sure those guns are locked and secured.
What about when someone leaves a gun in their car? How can they leave a gun in their car? Or can they leave a gun in their car? Like if they're at a place where they can't carry it inside, how do you secure a gun in your vehicle?
Lock it in the trunk. The best
Lock
way.
it in the trunk, not
Because
the glove compartment.
I wouldn't advise a glove compartment. They can still get access to the trunk. And another thing that's changed, and also with that you said that when we talked about the car, is that as of tomorrow, there's things called gun magnets or holsters now for your cars and your trucks. That's legal now. Before you had to keep your gun concealed. Now you don't have to. And I want everyone to understand, if you decide to use a gun magnet, what a gun magnet is, it's just a magnet that you can mount to the sternum wheel, the underneath the sternum wheel of your vehicle, something you put your gun there, and your gun just sits there. It's a magnet, it won't move. But be mindful that most guns are right-handed, and so you're gonna push it on the right hand. So if you get pulled over, law enforcement already height senses already, and you reaching for your wallet or something, and it looks like you reach for that gun. So let's be very mindful if we do that, because they're gonna say they thought you were reaching for a firearm. Because they
Right,
want to go home too.
right. They want to go home too. I got that. Anything else that we want to lead the people before we go?
No, I just want everyone to be aware, situational awareness. Make sure you know that everything's not a big deal, because it's going to be a while for this smooths itself out. Because if you get into an altercation with someone, you get to arguing, it's really not that big of a deal. Because if someone's carrying a firearm, make sure you know that just because someone said, "Well, I'll shoot you, I'm going to kill you," and things of this nature, I got news for you. It has to be acted upon. You cannot shoot at nobody just because they said they're going to kill you.
Just because they said, they have to act upon it.
Mm-hmm.
Or okay. So we have a question from the comments. Can people with criminal records get a license? Is there a time limit they have to wait after the offense or after they have completed their sentence?
Yes, they can. They're going to wait 5 years after the day the judge signed the order, not the day this, that, or when you finish everything, you have 5 years to wait for that. Now, it depends on what you're asking me, because if it's a felony, then of course we know what the felony is. You run a law, federal law and state law. Under federal law, you can't possess a firearm, but under state law, you can have a firearm in your home to protect you. Those laws run simultaneously, but you have to be careful, because you can't take a firearm outside, because why? As a felon, you're not supposed to have possession of a firearm. But the state of Texas allow you to take care of yourself and protect your home because of the castle doctrine.
Okay. So as a felon, you can protect your home. You can have it inside the home, but not outside the home.
Yeah, you have to wait 5 years till everything is complete. So it's probation, everything. After 5 years of that, then they can have a firearm.
Okay. So, and you said, and it's after the judge has signed off of it.
Yes.
Okay. Here's another question. Can a young teenager obtain a license to carry? You kind of answered that already, but go ahead.
Yeah, you have to be 21 in order to get the license to carry. But the beauty of the thing is, I train a lot of teenagers. I train a lot of young children, I should say, about gun safety. The reason why is because you want to get grandfathered. If you have a teenager that's 19 and a half, you have to be 21, of course. So why not get the training and get it out the way, and your certificate is good for 2 years. You have 2 years to apply. So if they change the law to saying you got to be 25, guess what? That teenager that's 21, he or her gets hers at 21 because they took it under that old law.
They took it under the other law. So at 19 and a half, have them take it so that they're covered, because the Texas legislature meets every other year. It can change
Yes.
quickly. And so that makes good sense. You want to be grandfathered in.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So anyone else got a question from the comments? If so, go ahead and let's get those up. And if not, I do want to remind everyone to make sure that they're following Pretty Petty Politics um, on both Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, and YouTube. So all of those sites. This interview will be available here on Facebook and here on YouTube. So if you want to send it to someone that doesn't have a Facebook account, you can send it to them from our YouTube page. If you want to share it with a group, feel free to do so. And if you want to invite Mr. Prince to come speak to your group, his contact information is shared in the video. And of course, you can reach him at their website, totalprecisionshooting.com. It is a Black-owned business based here in Southeast Texas. We do have another question. At the top of you all said, is there any restrictions on weapons and housing area? I don't know what you mean by housing area. Give us a little bit more on what you mean by housing area in another comment, and we will address that. So yeah, Eric, I do appreciate you for taking the time. I know you've been very busy. I know a lot of people have been calling you to talk about this. And I'm going to say what a lot of people have been whispering. How does this affect Black people? Some people say this law was designed to hurt Black people, but or is it to help licensed people?
Well, I'm going to speak very honest and candid about that. I think us as a culture, I was told when I was younger, you want to hide something from a Black man, you put it in a book, and these laws, are set here for a reason. And we have to look at the reasoning behind the laws. None of us voted for this. Let's be honest. None of us went down and lobbied for this. This Second Amendment thing is something that we all cherish and everyone wants to have, but that's not on our to-do list, or scratch off the box list, I should say. If you choose to carry permitless and you violate these rules that you don't know about, we already talked about ignorance is no excuse to the law, and they decide to give you a felony. We do know that the charges for, say, a minority versus majority member, it's going to be different. Black and white, it's going to be different. It's just no different than anything else. If you receive a felony, remember, a felony means, a lot of times it means no financial aid. If you're on a sports scholarship, no financial aid, no sports scholarship. We can go further. No housing, all federal aids, all assistance, all this stuff goes out the way, And I'll tell people, if you think a license to carry is like education, if you think this is expensive, try ignorance. Try ignorance because it doesn't make any sense. Just pay the $40 to the state, cover yourself, and move on, because the consequences is going to be too great. I believe it's going to be just too great, because it's going to be us, the ones getting pulled over, because we have a holiday weekend coming. And I'm going to give everyone this pearl. It's going to be no refusal weekend. And if Monday morning, Tuesday morning, it's going to be a lot of arrests with alcohol, with weapons and things, because it's going to take the police department a while to catch up with this. They don't want this law. It's going to take a while. But who's going to suffer? We are.
Mm-hmm. And if you get taken into custody this weekend, you there at least until Tuesday.
And if you have a firearm on you, it's going to be worse.
It's a holiday weekend, so keep that in mind. So his question earlier was, are there any restrictions on if someone lives in public housing? Can they carry a weapon, or can they have a weapon in their home or carry it in public housing?
No, they should be fine. They should be fine. If you're licensed to carry, so the thing with the license to carry, you should be fine. There's no provisions that said you can't do these things. But on the license to carry, I know for a fact on the license to carry, you can't be prohibited from any of these places. Foster homes. It can't be in your leases. Leases, people are doing that. Even with license to carry, teachers can carry firearms in their vehicles on the premises. On the property, which is the parking lot. But if they're not licensed to carry, teachers cannot carry. It's very important that they cannot carry on the Constitution carry regardless, because they're going to an institution of higher learning or education.
So higher learning, they can, but K-12, they can't
They
in the
have
state of Texas.
state of Texas. You must be licensed to carry a firearm. The teachers at say grade level, they have to have a license to carry to have that firearm in their
On
vehicle.
campus, in
On
their
campus.
vehicle.
Yes.
Okay. But they can't bring it in the building at a high
No.
school.
No, ma'am.
But at
Now,
a college, they can bring it into the building.
if they're licensed to carry, yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
But now go back to that. If you're permitless carrying, you
You
cannot
can't,
carry in that building
you
or
can't carry in
dorms.
that building, but you can carry in the parking lot in your trunk.
And your truck, yes, yes, ma'am. And
In your trunk.
let me say this also. Tomorrow, school zones are now considered federal. They're going to be considered federal gun-free zones, and it's a law that's in the book. Yes, ma'am. It's a law in the books. If you drop your kid off at school and something happens and they stop you and you're 1,000 feet from that building and you're not licensed to carry, that's a felony. But with the license to carry, you can walk all the way to the building door, as long as you don't go inside the building with your firearm.
Okay, let's say that one more time because it's a lot of people who who are going to see this later. These views will get passed up, like they'll watch this later. If you're dropping your child off to school and you're permitless carrying, and something happens within 1,000 feet where law enforcement gets involved and you're found with a gun on you, you will face federal charges.
Yes, ma'am.
Because of
It's now called school zones are federal. They're gun-free zones, federal now.
wow. My goodness. See, this is why we had to have this conversation. And I didn't want to just wrap it because it was 7:30, because I always feel like there's more that we can extract, more that we can pull out to really empower people. So those of you who are watching this, make sure that when you go get your hair done or you go get that haircut, that you play this for your hairstylist and your barber. And the reason being is because we know that that industry in our community is very powerful when it comes to getting information out. So share it. Like if you never shared Pretty Petty Politics before, definitely share this episode. Season 5, we're bringing the information to you. This is our big deal. This is why this platform was designed to educate our communities about what is happening around in the law. And we really want you to get licensed. If for no other reason, that last bit is enough to want to get licensed, because I may not be dropping someone off at school. Someone may have been dropping someone off and we have a collision near 1,000 feet, within 1,000 feet of a school, and I'm permitless carrying. And now I may be charged with a federal crime. Wow. That is incredible. And a lot of people don't think about that, you know. And more people are going to go get these handguns. We've already seen a spike during this pandemic. We saw a spike in the sale of handguns and rifles and everything else. Thank you so much, Eric. That was powerful.
Thank you. You're more than welcome.
Donovan said, good info. I'm glad I'm licensed. I'm glad you licensed too. Raina said, and if that's the case, everybody should have a license. And I absolutely agree. So before we go, how much does it cost? Two things. I know there are two costs. There's a cost to take a course, and there's a cost for the license. What are the costs associated with this?
Okay. My particular course is 75. There's some courses that are cheaper course, but mine's is 75. The reason why I do 75 is because I know what I'm putting together for you. We're going to have a great time. I'm going to provide things for you, breaks, snacks, and stuff like that, just to get you motivated, because I want it to be a real good atmosphere, So that's 75 for the course itself. And then once you apply for your license, you have different parameters that you can fall upon. If you work for the state, like a lot of people don't realize, if you work for the state of Texas, like say TDC, your license is free. You're a state employee. You just pay me.
I'm an educator, and mine should have been free. I work for the state of Texas. It's all good. It's all good. Them $40, I'll pay them again. If they told me I had to renew it every year, I will renew it every year.
And then you have the state considers a senior at 62. So anyone at 62, their license, is half price. Then you have your military personnel. If you honorable discharge, your license is half price. Law enforcement are pretty much free. I mean, there's all kind of ways that but basically, a normal person will pay $40. If you don't meet any of those criteria, you'll pay $40, and it's good for, like I say, the entire year. The thing about the license, like when you say renew, people don't realize when your license is due. Say your license is due in July of next year. Well, they're going to send you a notice 6 months in advance. And then once your license date expires, you have an entire year. You can't carry after, but you have an entire year to go ahead and renew. And then once you renew, they'll send you a new license. You just pay your $40 online. There's no more renewal classes. You just pay it online.
Okay. So $75 plus $40, that's $115. So you're saying either pay this $115 or have an oops and no protection and be facing paying thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars because of the consequences and the need for attorneys and fines and everything else that comes with it. So it's better to go ahead and pay this $115, sacrifice something, so that you can have this protection
Yes.
to go along with your protection.
Yes, because even real quickly, because even when you take the course, you're going to get run through scenarios when you cannot use your gun. But when you're not trained to use your gun, like we talked about the attorneys earlier, if you get into a shooting and you're carrying constitutional permitless, there's going to be an attorney or someone's going to say, well, were they trained? They may say, no, they don't have a license to carry. Oh, okay, well, let's take them to court. And then you're going to be placed on a stand. They're going to ask you, okay, why did you use your firearm? What ways could you use it? And you got to justify that shooting. But when you're licensed to carry, the terminology to say. I'm not going to say it now because you didn't take the class, but the terminology to get yourself out of trouble. When you're allowed to use a firearm. What causes an event that you use? People think that self-defense. Self-defense don't always work because there has to be leading circumstances to self-defense in order to use a firearm.
Okay. All right. Well, you guys, it is almost 7:45 here Central Standard Time. This is Pretty Petty Politics, Season 5, Episode 1. We've talked about the license to carry, permitless carry, and it has been an amazing conversation. We want to thank our guest, Mr. Eric Prince of Total Precision Shooting. If you want more information about his company, you can reach out to them. You can register for one of their courses. There's the website there on the ticker. And if you want to contact them directly, that is the phone number to Total Precision Shooting. And you said you do the classes on Saturdays in the Houston area and Dallas area, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. And do you do groups? Like if it's a group of friends that want to have a class, can they contact you to create that?
Yeah, we do private classes, and we even train like our children. We start them with small weapons and things of this nature. Because giving a child an education on firearms is very important because now you take the thrill out of it. You take I want to see this out of it. It's not that big deal to them.
So they're not afraid of guns.
No.
They learn early to respect them.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Well, I'm trying to think, is there anything else? I think that's it for us tonight. I do appreciate you. Again, you guys, make sure you're following Pretty Petty Politics. You can follow us here on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. This video will remain up, and we most certainly want you to share it. Because this is information that will empower people. So even if you're not from Texas, someone in Texas and you're watching this, make sure you send this to them. If they don't have Facebook and they say, I don't like social media, just go over to our YouTube page, Pretty Petty Politics, and you can share it from there. Mr. Prince, I thank you.
Thank you for having me.
I need to come see you. I need to come get my pink holster. I need to come pick up that holster. You need to see what I did with my other holster. Lord have mercy. But yeah, I'll see you soon. Thank you so much for taking time out of your very busy schedule, and you have a great evening.
Thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome. We'll have to have you back on. Huh?
Sure. I wish everyone success tomorrow.
Yes, certainly. And we'll have to have you back on in the future.
Whenever you need me.
All right. Thank you so much. Well, folks, that's it. That's episode 1, Pretty Petty Politics, season 5. Again, we're going to be unloading, right? We're going to be unloading all of the new legislation that has been passed. At the top of the show, I think I may have mentioned, maybe I didn't, that what we've been looking at, that voter suppression law that we've been making posts about throughout the summer. Well, it passed the House last week. Now it's passed the Senate. So it's headed to Governor Abbott's desk. So, of course, we will be talking about that legislation. We're going to invite some folks in to talk about the legislation concerning Johns and what Bel Air is going to look like moving forward. And Bissonnette, excuse me, I said Bel Air, Bissonnette, what that area is going to look like moving forward, the kind of task force that we're going to start seeing. Because if you are arrested for solicitation, it is no longer a misdemeanor. It will be a felony. We're trying to curb some of this sex trafficking that is happening across the state, particularly here in Houston. So make sure that you follow Pretty Petty Politics. We got a lot in store for you this season. And when we say this season, I mean in the next couple of weeks, we're going to be coming to you very strong. So make sure you follow us. Make sure you tell a friend to follow us, and make sure you share this video. Get your license. Doesn't matter if you're in the Houston area or the Dallas area. Go ahead, get your license wherever you are, and stay protected, be knowledgeable, and respect the law so that you can be protected by it. And we thank you, and we'll see you next time. Good night, everyone.